Weekend coming up, John.
All right, Todd, thanks very much. In a rare bipartisan move, Congress passed the Farm Bill. It amounts to $860 billion and covers a wide range of spending, including help buying groceries for people in need and hemp production. Key pieces of that plan do impact lives of people across East Tennessee, and 10 News reporter Stephanie Haynes takes a look.
The monstrous 800-page farm bill only comes every 5 years, and UT agriculture economics professor Aaron Smith says that means for the next few years, farmers will have some stability in insurance, commodities, subsidies, and other programs.
Farming is a very difficult business as it is. If you don't have certainty of programs, it can make it much more difficult.
He said the bill is similar from the past, but what jumps out to him is legalizing hemp production. Remember, hemp is a form of cannabis that has trace levels of THC, and in Tennessee, industrial hemp production is legal. Some researchers believe its sales will hit $1 billion in the next few years. Smith says at the very least, it provides a new revenue source for farmers.
But you have to make sure that you are aware that there's a market for that product, right? And so sometimes you can saturate that market really quickly.
Third, Smith says one of the most contentious points of the bill was provisions about food stamps or SNAP benefits. About 80% of the $867 billion bill is SNAP spending. Why?
But nutrition is something that kind of conveys, obviously, an aspect of agriculture, the food that is moving into these urban areas with the rural community.
Some lawmakers wanted stricter work requirements for receiving those benefits, but that didn't make it into the bill. Stephanie Haynes, WBIR 10 News.
That bill now heads to President Donald Trump's